Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, and welcome to Cannabis Business Times Grower Spotlight interview series. Thank you for joining us. I'm Noelle Skadinsky. I'm the editorial director of the Cannabis Group at GIE Media, which includes Cannabis Business Times, Cannabis Dispensary, Hemp Grower, the Hemp Grower Conference launching this fall, and of course the Cannabis Conference, which will be resuming in person again this August 24th through 26th in Las Vegas. Before I introduce our special guests today, I just wanted to cover a quick couple of housekeeping notes. So there you'll see a question box at the bottom of your screen. So at any time during the interview, you can feel free to submit questions for Steve, and we'll save the questions for the end, and we'll allow time and we'll try to get to as many as we can. The other thing is, if you have to leave at any time, we will be archiving the interview, and an email will be sent out to all the attendees so that you can view the interview later if you do have to leave. I also want to give a big thanks to our sponsor, Surna, for making this interview possible. Surna is a leading provider of energy and resource efficient technology solutions that allow growers to meet the unique demands of controlled agricultural environments. So thanks to Surna. You can find out more about Surna and its solutions at srna.com. And you can also talk with Surna experts in person at the Cannabis Conference in Las Vegas. So thanks, Surna. Now, I am pleased to welcome our guest, Steve Bundy. He is the general manager for Aeriz, which according to the company is the largest aeroponic cannabis operator in the United States and the only aeroponic grow in Illinois. The company also has operations in Arizona and is starting up operations in California and currently expanding their Illinois operations. Steve joined Aeriz in 2015, right at the start of the company, after having spent more than 26 years as an Illinois state trooper. He now oversees cultivation, delivery, extraction, packaging, and more. Aeriz is a cultivation center with a fully staffed and equipped extraction lab, and it grows, trims, packages, and delivers all of its own products. Dedicated to sound environmental sustainability practices and producing the cleanest, highest quality product possible, the company expects its rapidly expanding workforce to nearly triple in the next year. Steve, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So let's start with, can you talk a little bit about how you got started in cannabis?
Yeah, I was either in the right place at the right time or the wrong place at the wrong time, depending on how you're looking at it. I never had any thought of going into the cannabis business at all. As you said, I had a lot of years in law enforcement. I was never adamantly anti-cannabis. You know, even when I was a law enforcement officer, I realized the Schedule I classification was ridiculous. I believe that it had medical properties, but I had no idea the extent that those properties were. I ran into a friend of a friend who was starting this business. He was looking for someone to run security. I looked at it as a job. Regardless of what you see on the news right now, without getting into law enforcement and reputation they're getting, I'll tell you right now, the people I worked with were some of the finest, most upstanding, honorable, dedicated people you could ever meet. And I was amazed when I started in cannabis to see the same type of dedication. I wasn't expecting the passion. I really had a lot to learn. I believe that cannabis probably helped. If someone was undergoing chemotherapy, it help keep them from getting nauseous. I had no idea about the Rick Simpsons of the world, the Charlotte Fugis of the world, the children that it was helping, the chronic pain it was helping. I had no idea. And like I said, when I saw the passion that people have for this, it led me to want to learn. I've been here in Illinois from day one. I was here before we had a building. It was an empty field. and I was here working. Started off with security and kept moving.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't see everything from the outside until you start getting involved in it, and then it's really once you get in, most people stay in. So, well, thank you for that. So let's jump to the aeroponic cultivation. So Aeriz obviously does strictly aeroponic cultivation. Can you talk about why the company chose that method?
Yeah, it's fast, it's cutting edge. It gives a clean, pure product. My opinion, we have the best final product out there. We have amazing white root balls that are misted with precision amounts of nutrients at times that we set. We have a lot of controls. If everything's dialed right, you have a lot of control over the cultivation when you do aeroponics.
What about challenges that are unique to aeroponic cultivation?
One of the biggest challenges is if you're growing in anything that retains moisture, which the aeroponics doesn't, and you have a power outage, it's a minor aggravation. If we have a power outage, we're panicking. You know, we really have to get something fixed quick. We've got to get generators hooked up to keep the pumps running. We've got to, you know, keep those plants, keep the moisture going to the plants. We have a really good environment for our roots to thrive. And that's also a really good environment for bacteria to thrive. So we've got it clean. We have to spend a lot of time making sure that our facility is sanitary, which any place should, but I just think we have to do a little extra because of the way we grow.
Okay. Have there, aside from, you know, the keeping things kind of extra clean, and have there been any key lessons you learned or tips that you can share about aeroponic cultivation for others?
I'd say kind of try everything. You know, for example, we had a situation where our roots were retaining water a little bit too long, and they were getting a little soggy. So the obvious thought is don't spray them as long, don't put as much water on them. And you have to look at it from other angles too, you know. So you try not spraying as long, and then you try spraying the same length of time with longer intervals in between. Or you try spraying the same length of time with more angle on your table to drain the runoff. The obvious choice isn't always what's going to fix the problem. So you need to kind of try all those and see what does it best. Just the biggest thing I'd say is the first thing that comes to you may not be the right thing to fix problems.
Okay. So, you know, I've heard, and we talked about previously, that aeroponic cultivation can require a bit more strict environmental control than some other types of growing. Can you talk a bit about that, about the technologies and the practices that you and the cultivation team employ to control that environment, and what aspects are the most important to control?
The most important aspects to control are consistency. If I had to grow a little bit warmer than I liked, a little bit cooler than I liked, a little bit wetter, a little bit drier, we could figure something out as long as it was consistent. But when you can't consistently keep your humidity within a range that you want it, when you can't consistently keep the temperature within a range that you want it, then you're inviting a whole host of issues. And even if you don't have disaster hit, the plants just aren't going to be happy.
Okay, and we'll get into a little bit more about that environment in a bit. But so you're currently expanding the Illinois facility. Can you talk about that and where you are with the expansion?
Yeah, we have an absolutely beautiful 97,000 square foot state-of-the-art aeroponics facility. I can't describe how proud of this new facility that I am. It was designed from the ground up to do things right. Where when we have this building here, we learned some things. We don't have enough room for dry and cure. We don't have enough room for trim. We learned our lessons, and we have everything we need in that new building. The building's not complete, and we're already blocking off the front half and moving plants over there. We can't wait to get going over there.
So are there any lessons that you've learned during the expansion? Whether, any unexpected delays or expenses or things that maybe you would have liked to have planned for that came up?
Yeah, right now with shipping, seems like everything's delayed. They talked about how all the overseas shipments were delayed from COVID and whatever. But even the American-made products, and I love buying American-made, but the American-made products will have one or two parts that come from overseas. And, we have a hard time finding pumps. Steel prices have been going up and up and up, and plastic prices have gone up, if you can find it. So the building itself wasn't an issue. Equipping the building, we've ran into problem after problem after problem, but we just kind of keep going.
Sort of a common theme in cannabis, I think. It's always something unexpected. Okay, I'm gonna ask if we could switch gears for just a minute and take a couple of questions from our sponsor, Surna. So you chose Surna technology to control the environment. Can you talk about what you were looking for in environmental control technologies and why you chose Surna?
Yeah, in marijuana cultivation, it's we're kind of unique. We put out a lot of heat, a lot of moisture, a lot of humidity, and a lot of other companies can just increase their load and they can handle that. But take, for example, middle of January and it's 5 degrees outside, and we have to have a unit that heats the offices and cools our grow rooms with over 1 million watts of lights going on, and sustains the temperatures in our hallways, and does all that without having our humidity go through the roof or completely bottom out. And when we talk to other companies, when we explain those problems to them, they would come up with solutions. But when we explain those problems to Surna, they knew exactly what we were talking about because they'd dealt with it before and they already had the solution worked out. They were a little bit more of a, yeah, we've already fixed that type company than most of what we were able to deal with.
Okay. Did you use Surna for the mechanical engineering as well?
Yeah, we use Surna from day one. We showed them our building. We said, this is how big our building is going to be. This is what the light load is going to be. Here's our engineer that we use for tables and lights. Here's our architect. And we put them together. And Surna really took off with that. As far as the heating and air conditioning, really, and I say heating and air conditioning, heating is not much for us, but the air conditioning, Surna has taken the lead on all of it.
Okay, great. And I believe you're using Surna's Sentry IQ controls.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that and how you like the dashboard that they offer?
Yeah, the Surna IQ controls, I am not a technology guy. I'm not really a computer guy. I can fumble my way through, but the Surna controller tells me everything I need to know really quickly. I can pull it up on my desktop, and if something goes bad, it turns bright red, and I know, hey, we better look into something. It has capabilities way beyond what I need it to do, me personally. But our HVAC guys, our grow staff, they can really dig in there and they can do a lot of things on that. I like the precision, and I like how in depth that system will go, and also how easy it is for me just to pop on there and take a quick look. And I can take a quick look and see, make sure every room's okay, or I can just click one time and bring up one specific room, and it can tell me the temperature, the humidity, and pretty much everything you need to know. So yeah, it's very user friendly, but it's advanced enough for people who really want to get down and get dirty with it.
Okay, great, thank you. And I just want to answer a quick question I'm seeing come up just in case the message didn't go out. So a couple people were asking where they can see this interview later. And again, we will email out a link to people so that you can view the interview at any time just by clicking that link. And it usually goes out, I think a couple days to a week max after the interview. And the interview will also be hosted on cannabisbusinesstimes.com. On the website, there's a topics tab with videos underneath, and you can access it there. So sorry about that. Just wanted to kind of update everyone. So again, we're here with Steve Bundy, General Manager for Aeriz. So Steve kind of flows right into my next question, that what you were talking about. Can you share any details about your environmental settings that you strive for? We talked about how it's very important to kind of keep those consistent with aeroponic cultivation and things like temperature, humidity during different growth stages.
Yeah, we keep around 65% humidity during veg, and we drop that during flower. Daytime temperature, we shoot for 72, and nighttime temperature, 68. And the issues we've had in the past is when all the lights are off and it's 68 degrees, and then all of a sudden you have, as I said, 1 million watts of lights coming on. You can really stress those plants if the temperature shoots up to 90. And we've definitely seen that happen in the past. And I think our plants are a lot more healthier with the stable temperatures that we have now.
Okay, great. Are there other aspects of the grow room that you're automating and you have on, automatic control?
Not really. And that's mainly because of me, because I don't like automating things in grow. We could automate nutrients a whole lot more than we do. But this way, when someone's mixing nutrients in the reservoir, they're looking at the reservoir, they're telling me if we have either a reservoir or half a room that's not using many nutrients, and we can look and see if maybe a plant's not healthy. We can look and see if the water doesn't look quite right. I like hands-on in grow. I always tell people we try to treat our plants like they're intensive care patients in the hospital. We're hands-on them every day. We're doing automation with some of our packaging, primarily in extract. Somewhere in an old storage building, we have an automatic trimmer that we'll never use again. Everything's hand trimmed. Everything in grow, as I said, is done by hand. We could get more automated in our labeling process, but we've got a partnership that I'm pretty proud of. It's important to me. We have a local group home that deals with developmentally disabled adults, and they do our labeling for us. And it's been a great partnership. I'm proud of the job that they do, and they're proud of the job that they're doing. So even if we could automate the labeling process, I kind of like the direction that that's going right now. So I think we'll leave that there. I don't see a whole lot more automation other than, like I said, filling packages, particularly in the extract lab.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, understandable why you wouldn't want to automate that part of it specifically too. Let's shift to sustainability a bit. So Aeriz puts a priority on sustainability. Can you talk about a bit about the water catchment system you have, and what does that help achieve regarding your sustainability goals?
Yeah, I was talking about all the humidity that we put out. 50,000 plants and 1 million watts of lights, and you're going to have a lot of humidity. All of our dehumidification efforts in the building, all the condensate lines, that water, we have the capability of reusing that water either for irrigation or for cleaning. We have control over it. If there's a reason why at any particular time we wouldn't want to use it for irrigation, we can save it and just use it for cleaning. We can mix the combination of the city water with the condensate water before it goes through our filtering system.
Okay. So you were obviously, since you've been there from the beginning, for the installation of that system, were there any considerations or that you might have liked to know before installing that, or anything that you learned in that process?
No, not really, because with this one, we had a contractor down here work on it, and this contractor is known for over-engineering everything. He does a real good job. And between him and Surna, and I expected it was going to be pretty simple, just run the condensate lines down into the reservoir and we'll use the water. And after about 2 conversations between, like I said, them and Surna, I realized I was out of my league, and I just stayed out of it. And I said, tell me when it's done. When it's working and ready to go, let me know. Come show me how to turn it on. But other than that, there really wasn't much. It works real well.
Okay, great, thank you. What about your packaging? So can you talk about the packaging that you're using, and if it was difficult to find packaging solutions that met the company's goals for sustainability?
Yeah, I'd say it's impossible to find packaging that meets our goals, because our goals are always changing. If someone comes out with a more environmentally friendly package, that, I don't know where to put this, we want our product to be a premium, and we want nice packaging, nice professional packaging. And I don't think we'll ever meet our goals, because we're always looking for something just a little bit nicer, whether it's concentrate or flower or, whatever it is. And marijuana is a new enough business. They're always coming out with something a little bit nicer. It's constantly evolving. We've had a long-term relationship with the company that we get our containers from. We were, as far as I know, the first in Illinois to use a biodegradable package. And that sustainability is important to Aeriz.
And Steve, this the containers that you're growing in, those are biodegradable, if I recall, somewhat.
The containers are not, but we have reusable clay pellets, which is that we fill in the container.
Okay, thanks. I knew there was some aspect of that was important. So overall, can you share any tips for other companies that are looking to improve their sustainability?
Just never stop looking, never stop trying to get better. I mean, there are some products that will claim that they're sustainable, and you have to look at manufacturing and post-consumer and make sure that they really are environmentally friendly.
Okay. Check on our time. Okay, we've got a few more minutes. So what would you say is the most challenging aspect of overseeing the cultivation operation?
The most challenging is also my favorite, and that's the people. In the marijuana industry, I have people here who use marijuana daily and have for years. I have people who've never touched it. I have grandmothers. I have people who started working here when they turned 21. You can't work in a cultivation center until you're 21 in Illinois. I have people who were waiting for their birthday. It's such a huge spectrum of people that we have working here that it can be trying to keep everyone on the same page, going the same direction. Some days I feel like I'm herding cats, but overall we've got a real good crew here.
Okay. Well, you just answered my next question. I was going to ask what's your favorite aspect of overseeing the cultivation. Do you have another one besides employees?
I love the plants. I like coming in here early before anyone gets here and just walking through the rooms. As I said a few years ago, I'd never experienced anything like that. I didn't know. 3 steps in the room and you can tell if they're happy or if there's something wrong. And the expression these plants show, it really impresses me.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we talked a little bit about the environmental controls. Are you collecting data regularly?
We are, and in the past, our consistency in environmental controls didn't make the data as valuable as it could have been. If I went to grow staff and I said, hey, the last time we ran the strain, the yields were kind of down, produced a lot of popcorn. We need to try and work on that. And they might say, well, the last 2 weeks before harvest, the temperature was up in the 90s a couple times in that room, and that might have affected it. And the humidity was really bad there for a week, remember? So now that we've got our environmental controls dialed in better than they've been in the past, I think the data that we get is going to be a lot more valuable than what it has been. We're just taking some of the variables out.
Okay, great. What data do you think, is there anything besides humidity and temperature that's kind of essential to the crop's health?
Those would be the main two. And of course, we keep track of all of our inputs in the plant. We know everything that's going in them. Kind of getting strain specifics on what plants do better with a little different nutrient mix. Also, they keep pretty close track on different defoliation techniques or timing to see how it affects our yield.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, we're just about at the time. I'll start taking some questions from the audience. I know that someone asked, if you don't mind sharing, what type of lighting are you using?
Everything. We experiment. We primarily use HPS lights, 1,000 watt double end HPS. We are starting to experiment more with LEDs in veg as well as flower, and really haven't used them enough to know if we like them or not. We're 1,000-watt double-ended HPS is our standard.
Okay. And then we talked in the beginning of the interview about the importance of keeping the grow exceptionally clean with aeroponic cultivation. Someone wanted to know what kind of products you're using to clean the system.
Hydrogen peroxide, alcohol. We have a few different cleaners that we've tried. The most important thing at keeping the system clean is the people. You know, make sure they don't take shortcuts whenever it comes time to clean. That they get in the corners, they get in, the filters. I don't think there's a magical product that's gonna make the cleaning any easier. You just have to have people who are willing to get in there and scrub it.
Okay. And kind of related, I guess, have you had much of an issue with Pythium or other root pathogens? And if so, how did you handle that?
Anytime you grow aeroponically or hydroponically, I think you're going to run into Pythium eventually. My personal opinion is healthy plants do a lot better at fighting off the Pythium. A clean environment, of course, as I've said before, over and over. Standard industry treatments for Pythium are going to work better if you're using, if you start with healthy plants and a clean environment.
Okay. Has your, let me see, do you feel your growing environment has changed the methods or timing to mature and finish flowering to maximize potency and or yield? Have you made, I guess, adjustments over time to get greater yields and or potency?
I don't think we've adjusted flower times any. I think we've adjusted veg times considerably by a clone schedule, learning what strains do well with bigger clones, what strains need an extra week in veg, what strains don't. And then just the aeroponics, the speed of aeroponics. I think we've considerably reduced our veg time, but the flower time, it is what it is. The plant tells us when it's right.
Okay. How often do you change your nutrients?
At least every couple days.
Okay. And someone's asking about the misting nozzles. What's the best in the process you went through to determine the best type?
Oh, I lost you. There. The size of the misting nozzle depends on the pressure of your pump, and that depends on the length of your line. So you just that's completely trial and error. We've got 16-foot tables and we've got 24-foot tables, and we've got pumps from 1 horse up to 1 3/4 horse, and it all just depends on their use and the length. So that's 100% going to be trial and error.
Okay, thank you. Someone's asking about they're just starting a licensed cannabis facility in Canada and want to know what companies have you looked at for aeroponic equipment?
Most of our equipment is pieced together and built here on site. It's pretty much a custom system that we've developed.
Okay.
We do take a basic flood and drain table to start with, though.
And then you have like a head cultivator or someone who's involved in kind of, is the team just involved in kind of developing that
Yes,
to their specs that they want?
yes.
Okay. I don't know if you can answer this, but someone's asking what you can expect for cost per pound. Probably, you know, varies per company, but, you know, as an example, I guess, of aeroponic cultivation.
It not only varies per company. If I had known that was coming, I would have tried to have numbers in front of me. And the reason it varies so much is there's a lot of sellable flower that we don't sell as flower. We send to extract. We try and just sell the premium flower, and we try and keep plenty of product biomass for the extract team. So right now, without looking, I can't tell you what we're paying per pound right now, what it costs us to grow.
Okay. Let's see. With the aeroponic system, do you spray the roots continuously, or is the irrigation pulsed intermittently? And then also part of that, how do you keep the water temps in check, and what water temp do you run at?
It's intermittent, and we change the frequency depending on whether it's daylight or darkness in the room. Ideally, you want the water temps around 10 degrees colder than the temperature in the room that the plants are in.
Okay, so you're watering less frequently at night?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I think those are, sorry, I'm switching back and forth between two chat windows here. Bear with me 1 second. I just want to make sure. There's a lot of questions, and I think that a lot of them overlap. So we talked about your lighting. Okay. Does aeroponic cultivation have, you know, tie in at all to more organic types of cultivation, or any organic goals that the company might have?
We don't make any claims to grow organically. A lot of what we use as far as nutrients would be an organic grow, but we're not 100%. I'm sure it could be done.
Okay. We've got just a couple minutes left, so I'm going to go with maybe one more question. So you've obviously moved up the ranks through actually, I'll ask one more. I'll ask this one first. So you moved through the ranks at Aeriz. Can you talk about that, and what other people who are interested in kind of advancing the way that you did? I mean, obviously to general manager, it's a pretty significant position, and everything you're overseeing. Any advice or things that you think are important to help people achieve what you have?
Yeah, I'd just say balance. You know, the corny answer would say, you know, work hard and do what you're told, and you'll wind up fine. But in this industry, you have people who have a lot of knowledge about cannabis and know nothing about business. And they don't make any effort to learn business because they know enough about marijuana. They don't have to know anything about business in their eyes. And, you know, you have people who are so worried about the bottom line that they would sacrifice quality. You have to understand how to balance the two. You know, at Aeriz, at no time has anyone here ever seriously brought up doing anything to lower our quality. We want to send the very best out. But at the same time, I understand if I'm selling a product that costs us money every month, we're not going to be in business long. So you have to You have to work really hard to balance the two. We have a good team at Aeriz between production, sales, marketing, and yeah, I don't think I can give it a better answer than that. You just can't you can't focus too much on one area if you want to climb.
Okay, great, thank you. And for the last questions, are you using chillers to maintain the water temperatures, and are the reservoirs in the same room as the plants, or are they kept in a different room?
They're kept in a different room. We're not using chillers right now. Keep the sorry about that.
Okay.
We keep the hallway cooler to keep the temperatures down.
Okay, great. Well, with that, I think last question, I don't know if you can answer this, but what kind of yield do you get with the aeroponics? Again, I imagine that varies per cultivar that you're growing and that kind of thing, but are there any numbers that you can share?
What kind of what?
What kind of yield you're getting with the aeroponics?
Oh, that varies way too much. It can also vary depending on the veg time that you wanted to give. But our yields per square foot are right up there with any other cultivation method.
Okay, great. Okay. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have. So Steve, thank you so much for being here and sharing your experience with us and your insights and story of Aeriz. And I want to again thank our sponsor, Surna, for making this interview possible, and thank all of you for attending. And Steve, thank you again. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. And I don't have COVID and I'm not dying. I just got COVID.
I certainly hope not.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.